to the clerk. Are we good to go?
Not quite. Trevor will let me know as soon as it is up and running on YouTube.
Okay, thank you.
We are broadcasting live now, Rick.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, I will call the meeting of the Committee of Adjustment to order for this Tuesday, August the 3rd. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen in the audience and to members of council. I would note that we have regrets this evening from Nathan Townend, Penny Porter, and Carl Parks for this committee, but we do still have quorum, so we shall continue. As usual, this is a virtual, or as usual now, this is a virtual meeting, and as such, if we have any technical interruptions amongst the members of the committee, I will pause the meeting to wait for that individual to reconnect, and we will reconnect as soon as possible thereafter. With that, again, all rules of procedure are in place, and at this time, I will ask for an adoption of the agenda. Is there anything to add to the agenda at this time? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve that, please? Jim, thank you. Seconded by Mike, thank you. Any comment? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Thank you. Motion is carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? I'm seeing no hands. So we'll move forward to the approval of the Committee of Adjustment minutes from July the 5th. We have the minutes before us. Are there any noted errors or omissions? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve? I'll take Ron, seconded by Mike. Thank you. And I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. So we move into our first public meeting, item 5.1, SR 1789, 450 Front Road. And I'll call on our staff member, Ms. Furness. Welcome.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. For the first three applications this evening, they're being brought back to this committee as they were deferred from the June meeting. Concerns had been raised at that previous meeting from surrounding landowners, primarily related to drainage and flooding. So we have prepared supplementary reports addressing their concerns. So if it's okay with you, Mr. Chair, it probably makes most sense if I can speak to all three of them together as they're all related.
Thank you. I will take the presentation as one, but we'll have the votes separately.
That's great. Thank you. So as the committee may recall, the first proposed severance is located on the north side of Front Road, and the other two severances are located on the south side of Front Road on Amherst Island. Staff previously reviewed relevant provincial policy, official plan, and zoning bylaw considerations and in the previous meeting. So I won't repeat that again, but we'll just focus on the additional information just to speak to the public's comments, which was requested at the last meeting. So it is acknowledged that there is historical drainage issues in this area, and previous attempts to address them have not been successful. Essentially, in consultation with the Public Works Department, the only solution would be for a combination of deeper, wider ditches, larger culverts, or redesigning the existing drainage outlet. It's important to note that the township does not own the drainage outlet, and we cannot obtain any road widenings without a consent application. So there are current limitations at this time on what can be done to address drainage in the area. Staff therefore requested an engineered drainage plan, which proposes to reduce the drainage heading to lower 40-foot road. And with the drainage easement and the road widenings being requested as part of the applications, or being required as part of the applications, that allows Public Works to have the ability to control development within the easement and deepen the ditches. And it was staff's opinion that the proposed severances and drainage improvements will result in a positive impact on the 50 Front Road property from a drainage perspective, and that the severances aren't anticipated to result in a drainage increase onto any of the lots east of lower 40 foot. Also, once an easement is granted, Public Works will also be in a position to apply for a conservation authority permit, which would be required to do any modifications to the existing outlet. And the conservation authority will likely also require erosion controls as part of that as well. There were some further other concerns about bell easements and construction around them. So in reviewing surveys, this appears to be on the 50 Front Road property rather than the severed parcel. However, the actual location would be confirmed as part of detailed design, and staff are of the opinion that the construction can be addressed without affecting the bell easement. And it's also important to note that Bell did not provide any concerns with the applications as well. We did receive one comment that just came in just before the meeting from an adjacent property owner, just advising that they are still requesting the application to be deferred, as they're of the opinion that a number of the work has to be done up front in order to prove that that improvements to the outlet and the drainage ditching and everything will be effective and work. And so that's primarily a sum up of the information, and I believe both Alex Scott, our Public Works Manager, and Corey Grant, the Engineering Supervisor, should also be on standby as well to help assist in answering any questions as well.
And thank you very much, Ms. Furness. I'll go to the committee. Do we have questions with regard to this returned application? And anyone have any questions? Not at this time. Okay, at this time, this is a public meeting. At this time, I will turn to the audience to ask if there is anyone in attendance who wishes to speak to the meeting. I will ask the clerk to monitor for raised hands or indications that the audience members wish to speak to this. Is there anyone at this time? Madam Clerk, are you aware of any member of the audience who wishes to speak to this application?
I'm not seeing any raised hands.
And I will addressing the audience. If there's anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this application or this set of 3 applications effectively, I would ask you to either speak up or use the raised hand symbol within this application. I'm seeing none. Madam Clerk, are you seeing any?
I don't see any
Okay,
raised hands.
then I'll turn back to the committee, see if there's any final questions that way. I'm seeing none. We do have a recommendation to approve from staff. Committee, what would you like to do with this application? Anyone? I'll go to Jim.
Move to receive and adopt the recommendation to approve.
So moved. Do I have a seconder for that? Take Ron, thank you. Mover, any comment?
No, it appears that in the long run, if everything plays out the way it's indicated it will, that it could actually improve the drainage in that area and give us a more direct outlet, which would help the road as well, the township infrastructure as well. So there's still some work to be done and the rest of the design can be finished, but this approval would get the ball rolling.
Thank you. Seconder, any comment? Anyone else? No? Okay. I thank staff for their extra work on this file. With that, I will call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. We move to item 5.2, which is basically the same issue. I won't ask the staff member to repeat. I will ask the audience if there's anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to it. This is a public meeting. You have the right to speak to these issues. Again, I will ask you to use the hand signal within Zoom to indicate your desire to speak. I'm seeing none.
I see none.
Thank you. And I'll come back to council or committee for any further questions or final questions. Since there are none, I will ask for a mover. And go to Jim,
Receive and adopt the recommendation.
seconded by Mike. Thank you. Comment?
Previous comment goes for all of them.
Thank you. Same. Anyone else? Then I'll
Same,
call
yeah.
the question. And I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. And we move to the third item under the same category, 5.3. We have the same report or similar report. And again, just to be technically accurate, I will ask the audience if there is any member in the audience who wishes to speak to these issues. I'm seeing none. Committee, last chance for comment. And Mr. Budrick, go ahead.
Again, a motion to receive and adopt.
So moved, seconded by Mr. Gordon. Thank you. And any comments? I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Thank you. Motion is carried. We move to item 5.4, 33 County Road 6. Ms. Furness, you have a report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this application is for a consent for a lot addition to sever 0.53 hectares of land located at 33 County Road 6, and to have that land be added to the property to the north located at 45 County Road 6. The remaining parcel would be approximately 0.37 hectares. So if approved, the lot addition will result in the expansion of the property at 45 County Road 6, which is intended to be used for a future subdivision to support the expansion of McDonough Crescent and Amherstview. So in reviewing the application, staff are of the opinion that the lot addition is consistent with the provincial policy statement, as it provides an opportunity to support intensification policies. Staff are also of the opinion that the application complies with the county official plan and the township's official plan. And while no development is being proposed as part of this application, the purpose of the lot addition is to provide lands for a future residential subdivision, which supports urban growth and intensification goals. I should note that the properties, both the severed, retained, and the benefiting parcel are all designated residential in the official plan, so the proposed uses are permitted as well. The existing and proposed residential uses, as I mentioned, are permitted, and the proposed lot addition will not result in the creation of any new lot. So the township's official plan does permit consents if they're required for technical reasons, such as boundary adjustments, which would be this case. With respect to the township zoning bylaw, the property is zoned residential type 1 and community facility, with the severed parcel being entirely in the community facility zone. So on the retained land, which consists of a current dwelling, there's a strip of community facility remaining, which appears to be an error in the zoning bylaw. So as a result, staff will be undertaking a future housekeeping amendment just to correct that and place it in the residential type 1 zone. So the entire residential property, the existing residential property, reflects its use. As the severed lands are zoned community facility, as well as the benefiting parcel, there's no zoning concerns in regards to the lands being added. In addition, the retained residential parcel is more compatible with the surrounding residential lot fabrics on County Road 6 as a result of the lot addition, and there's no zoning setback concerns as well with the new lot lines. Staff have received a number of questions in regards to the future proposed subdivision as a result of this lot addition application. A number of residents were concerned about whether the subdivision entrances would go out to County Road 6. We received questions regarding future construction and what the subdivision would look like. So in regards to these comments, I can confirm that we currently do not have an active subdivision application at this point, and that this application tonight is only to increase the land holding of those lands. So any future subdivision or other planning act application, which would be needed to facilitate a future subdivision, such as a zoning bylaw amendment, will require public notification notices, a sign advertising the application on site, as well as a public meeting that would have to be held at council. So a lot of those details that would be worked out as part of a future subdivision, the public would have an opportunity to comment at that time once we have an application.
Thank you.
So as a result, staff are recommending approval of this lot addition. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee, do we have any questions with regard to this application? I'm seeing no questions. And then I'll turn to the audience. This is a public meeting. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak either for or against, in person or by solicitor, this application? I would ask you to use the hand up sign in Zoom to identify that you wish to speak. I'm not seeing any. I turn to the clerk. Are you seeing any?
I'm not, Your Worship.
Okay. Give it another moment for anyone who's trying to connect, trying to figure out how to indicate they wish to speak to it. And we're not seeing any. So with that, I'll come back to the committee. Unless there's further questions, I'll ask for a motion. Anyone? I'll go to Jim. Thank you.
To receive and adopt the recommendation.
Thank you. And a seconder. Thank you, Mike. Any comments? Anywhere? No? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. And we come to item 5, which is 5580 Front Road. And we have a report before us. Ms. Furness.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this application for consent is to create a new lot, which is located at 5580 Front Road on Amherst Island in Stella. The land holding was originally 2 lots, but very recently it was inadvertently merged due to owners' names changing on title. As a result, the applicant is requesting to reestablish the original lot lines that were in existence prior to the merger. So the property is zoned Hamlet Residential in the zoning bylaw and is designated Hamlet in the official plan. The proposed severed lot would be 0.24 hectares, with the remnant parcel being approximately 0.21 hectares. So while the application does not meet the Hamlet Residential zoning provisions in today's standards, there is a clause in the zoning bylaw that allows for the development of existing undersized lots, a lot of records. And in this case, the previous lot lines were existing in separate ownership prior to the zoning bylaw being passed, as well as the official plan that we're using today. So this clause in the zoning bylaw also has conditions in that there are minimum required lot area and frontage requirements. Potable water has to be established and septic system approval as well. So the minimum lot area and frontage requirements can be complied with, and favorable comments on a septic system were also received. Well requirements are included as a condition to the approval to ensure that potable water is available. Staff are of the opinion that the application complies with the provincial policy statement as it promotes appropriate development in the rural settlement area where public safety is considered and where the rural settlement character is preserved. Staff are also of the opinion that the application complies with the county official plan and township official plan, as the area and the shape of the severed and retained lots will serve to reinstate a previous lot fabric that's in keeping with the surrounding residential properties in Stella. And as I should also note that there's an existing drainage swale that contributes to the orderly drainage of the property, and there is a condition to include the that drainage in a grading plan as a condition to ensure that it's maintained. As previously mentioned, these lots were under distinct and separate ownership prior to the official plan and zoning bylaw, and all other conditions are complied with. So staff are supportive of the consent to revert back to the previous lot line configuration. The only one item I did want to note is that there is an error in one of the conditions in the report. So the last sentence in condition number 3 speaks to an easement conveyance. This is intended to be addressed in the grading plan. So we're recommending approval with just that last sentence in condition 3 being removed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Committee, do we have any questions about this application? I'm seeing none. I'll turn to the audience. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this application, either for or against, in person or by solicitor, with regard to the application before us? I would ask that you use the hands up sign in Zoom to indicate your desire to speak. I'm not seeing any. I'll turn to the clerk. Is there anyone that you have identified?
I'm not seeing any hands up.
Thank you. I'll give it one last call. I'm seeing none. Then I'll come back to the committee. Committee, unless you have final questions, I would look for a motion. And Ron, thank you. So moved. And seconded by Mike. Thank you. And any comment from the mover, seconder? Anyone else? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Motion is carried. Thank you. Which brings us to the end of our public meetings. I thank you, everyone. Unless there's anything else from Ms. Furness? Yeah, then we'll move forward. Next meeting of the Committee of Adjustment is scheduled for September the 7th, depending on whether there's applications appropriate or not. And with that, I will call for a motion to adjourn. Ron, seconded by Mike. Thank you. All right, call the question. All those in favor, please raise a hand. Any opposed? Motion is carried. We are adjourned. We do have a scheduled committee of the whole meeting in the next few minutes. It takes about 10 minutes to transfer all the Zoom information and YouTube stuff. So let's give it, let's make it 6:35. We'll target everyone being back here for the committee of the whole. Thank you very much. And to the audience, thank you for coming in tonight.